Yoga problems. Oh, I got them. Oh, got them, baby. I got them. All my yogi friends across the land.
This guy.
Oh, I want to talk for just a minute about the problem of the day. And I think I'm going to start talking about the problem of the day in a much narrower and more focused way. I want to talk about a specific pose that is problematic. And there are so many. It's like I could do this forever. It's an infinite podcast. The content is endless. Because every pose has its problems. Oh. I just got a buzz on my wristwatch. It reminds me, you should shut off your workout, man. You're not working out anymore. You haven't been working out for like 10 minutes, but it's still counting it. It's still timing it. It's moving forward. It's marching on. It's pretending that you're actually doing something difficult when in fact, I've not. So that's a lot. I've been lying to myself. I've been lying to the Apple computer gods, and for that I forever beg for forgiveness. But I did turn it off, and so I feel like, you know, I got 10 extra minutes of a calorie burn counted up there, which is false. All those numbers are false. All those numbers are kind of manufactured. They're loosey-goosey, like how many calories are in a sandwich, you don't know. I mean, it's like all approximations. So you might as well have a little bit of an approximation with the exercise. And if I over-approximate every once in a while, if that happens, hey, sue me. Because there are plenty of times when I start a class and like 10, 15 minutes in the class, I'm like, oh man, I haven't started my watch yet. Let's make that the problem of the day. Dealing with this wristwatch, the Apple Watch in this case, it's so complex. This thing could do everything, dude. You could go to the moon. Apparently, someone said there's more technology in the Apple Watch than there was on Apollo missions. That sounds too good not to be true, so let's roll with it. Neil Armstrong would have benefited from the iWatch. Is that what it's called? Apple Watch, iWatch? I don't even know what things are called anymore. But if you want to track your exercise, this is a good way to do it. You just have to remember to hit the buttons. You have to remember to turn it on. That'll be the next level. If you can really step up your game. And I heard Zucks was like trashing Apple on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day. I didn't watch the whole interview, but he said something like, Apple's not really innovating anymore. They're just squeezing their customers. I'm like, okay, I guess so. I don't know. But if the next edition of the Apple Watch didn't actually require you to interact with it, it just knew, because it was connected to your subconscious. It knew what you were up to. It knew when you were sleeping. It knew when you were awake. It's like the Santa Claus watch. It knows when you're doing hot yoga. It knows when you're taking an outdoor walk. You don't have to push the buttons and, lose. If you don't hit the buttons, you don't get credit. That's a problem, dude. I want credit where credit is due. But again, sometimes I overextend and I get credit for things I didn't accomplish. I think it all washes out in the end. That's a theory. As my niece might say, it'll buff out. She's definitely a millennial. It'll buff out. I hate that phrase, man. It makes me sick in my stomach. Things don't just buff out. Someone has to buff them out. There's a difference. There's all this passive language in society. Like, oh, it'll buff out. Oh, it will? It just buffs itself out. Problems just resolve themselves. There's no one that has to intervene or get involved and solve it. It'll buff out. No. I'll buff it out. Where was I? The pose of the day. What is it called? Gorilla pose. Why? That is deceptively uncomfortable. And I really don't like it. I really don't like it. It comes usually halfway through the class, and it's viewed as kind of like, oh, it's a resting pose, it's a recovery pose. Who made that up? What is going on? This guy's turning left around the world. Man, drivers. He's from Maryland, of course. There should be a tax on Maryland drivers when they come across D.C. and certainly into Virginia. Anytime Maryland drivers leave their state, we should have a easy pass affixed to their car that credits the state they're in, like $10, just for the inconvenience that they impose on society. Gorilla pose. Who does that, really? You put your hand, you have to stand on the palm of your hands. And the yogis are always like, you can massage your hands with your toes. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna feel really good standing on my palms of my hands. I'm just gonna like wiggle my toes and give myself a little hand massage. Yeah, that happens. What world do we live in? Not that one. Every time I'm in gorilla pose, I am reminded of my sloth and gluttony and the need to drop about 30 pounds. I could be decent at yoga. I might even be like I could achieve mediocrity in this discipline if I could just lose like 30 pounds. Because half the times I can't bend over. I have a gut. What's fascinating is that's definitely where I carry my weight. It's all around my midsection. And I don't know how you attack that absent a little liposuction. Maybe I have to get some surgery, suck that out. Make some soap out of it. Oh man, what a day, what a day. Oh, gorilla pose. I don't know how I feel about it. I do know how I feel about it. I don't like it. It's problematic. But at the same time, I want to improve. So I'm going to have to, I can't just ignore it. I can't just skip it. When it's called, I do it. I just don't like it. I'm like, oh no. And then there's the other one with the peace fingers. So one is where you're standing on the palms of your hand and bent over. The other one is when you have peace fingers and you're bent over. It's like both of those poses, they are fake resting poses. It is not true that those poses are comfortable in any way, shape, or form. For me, they are distressing. They're torturous. They're unpleasant. And I should be enjoying the middle of the class. I just finished my Sun B, so I got to get a little rest in. And you're throwing me in the gorilla pose. That doesn't help. That's elevating the intensity of this workout. It's making me less comfortable, less happy, more angry at the world. I'm gonna have to come around on this. I'm gonna have to really reconcile my mental state with the gorilla pose. So I like gorillas as creatures. I feel like we get along, you know? I'm down with that. Donkey Kong. It's all good, man. Just a crazy morning, crazy day. But it is what it is, and I got it in. And on the way out, literally as I was walking out of class today, I thought to myself, I feel great. It's so wonderful to be able to pursue that practice. Wouldn't it be awesome, Rafferty, if you could commit to doing that every day of your life, starting every day of the week with like an hour of hot yoga? I mean, it sounds excruciating, and it would be. But when you walk out, man, you feel good. And I feel great right now, despite the gorilla pose anxiety and frustration. So let's think about that. Let's think about what type of challenge I could set up. Because as it stands, I'm kind of like an every other day type of yogi. Every second or third day. But what if I tried to like really get nuts? I used to do 2 a day when I was in the training, like 200-hour teacher training. That was bananas. But anyway, that's a story for another day. All right, folks. Thank you again for tuning in to Raff's Brain Hot Yoga Problems. Until next time, namaste, mofos.